The time is now 7 o'clock.
It was a meeting that was, 720 days coming? The first meeting between President Yoon Suk-yeol and Democratic Party Chair Lee Jae-myung finally took place at Yongsan yesterday. So the meeting started off in what was said to be a cordial mood, but it quickly turned as the two sides dove into the more serious and controversial issues. The two sides were unable to reach an agreement, nor did they release a joint statement. And to quote the DP leader, it was frustrating and disappointing. But hopefully this will be the first step in what will be many more opportunities for further communication. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, April 30th on befm, 부산영어방송. Good morning, everybody. Wavers out there, welcome to our program as we get acclimated to our new surroundings. And by the way, I do want to thank all of you, the wavers out there, that gave us really good feedback yesterday. So we're continuing to try to make things look better for the viewers out there and, of course, the listeners as always. So the first ever meeting between President Yoon Suk-yeol and DP leader Lee Jae-myung did take place yesterday, right? 720 days after the president's inauguration, 10 days after the president's invitation. The summit began, it seems, in a pretty good, mood at the presidential office in Yongsan, with both sides' opening statements released to the public. And the rest of the meeting taking place behind closed doors. The president's opening remarks were relatively simple, welcoming the DP leader and his delegation to Yongsan. On the contrary, though, he had prepared a 10-page statement addressing the three highs. We're talking interest rates, currency, the cost of living, restoring the R&D budget, and resolving political conflicts over legislative and administrative affairs. Lee Jae-myung directly requested the president to actively look into the 250,000 won livelihood recovery stipend. And after the meeting, the DP said that he also demanded the president to express his regrets for his past vetoes to pass a special legislation on the deceased Marine as well as the Itaewon special legislation. The meeting yesterday worked as more of a confirmation, it seems, of the two sides' differences. And there would definitely need to be more opportunities for both sides to work out said differences. All right, now it's time for a text topic. So, yesterday, start of the week for most people who are listening, maybe that meeting yesterday just did not end on a good note. So that's what we're talking about today. Shows, dramas, movies, and their endings. So what show's ending were you disappointed with? And you might kind of be wondering, why are we talking about this? Well, we'll get to that in hour number 2. What about the contrary? What show do you think had a great ending? 용두삼이 용두요미 용미 excuse me. 여러분이 보시는 드라마 중에 만족한 엔딩은 있었는지, 그리고 저는 가끔 드라마 보면서 한 16편이라 치고 15편까지는 그러다가 마지막 회 가끔 실망할 때도 있잖아요. 그래서 실망한 엔딩 혹은 만족한 엔딩이 있다면 어떤 드라마였는지 let's talk about that. You can send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk or app comment board. And listening to us, there are so many different ways you can listen to us and watch us in real time on YouTube. You can watch again on that platform. You can listen to us on Patbang, the app as well. It is Tuesday, looking ahead to our morning together. So we have Andrew coming in for Sports Insider, and for the health today, we have Andrea. For our special interview, we're going to be talking about global coral bleaching and how right now it seems that the alarms have been raised. So what does this mean, not just for the oceans, but for biodiversity and ecosystems? That's coming up in hour number 2. And in the meantime, I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:05, and these are today's headlines. President and DP chief hold first official meeting. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Democratic Party or DP chairman Lee Jae-myung sat down for their first ever meeting yesterday, where Lee made a series of demands ranging from a special probe to cash handouts. Government to deploy more medical staff as hospitals' weekly breaks increase. Health Minister Cho Yu-hong said yesterday that the government plans to deploy more medical staff as senior doctors at 5 major hospitals in Seoul decided to take a weekly day off starting today. Foreigners seeking medical treatment in South Korea hit record high. According to the health ministry yesterday, 605,768 foreign nationals visited the country for medical services in 2023, up 144.2% year on year. Police vow stern response to illegal Labor Day demonstrations. Police unveiled plans to mobilize 162 riot squads to sternly tackle any illegalities as the country's 2 umbrella unions will hold mass rallies tomorrow for Labor Day. Japanese yen weakens to 34-year low. The Japanese yen weakened to a 34-year low of 160 yen against the U.S. dollar for the first time since April 1990 on Monday before gaining by 4 yen amid speculation over state intervention. And these were today's headlines. It's now time to check in with Haley. She's in the studio for Busan Updates. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well.
Yes, we are doing okay. So, well, let's talk about endings. We all love good endings, right? But sometimes, I seriously get to like the 15th episode, you know, assuming it's a 16 part drama series. And then I'm like hoping for like a good ending. And then I'm just like, what?
And
like,
I think especially, 용두 삼이, 용두 용미, like especially shows that started off really well.
Yes.
Talking to you, Game of Thrones, you and the entire 7th season, which I will continue to ignore that it ever happened throughout my entirety of my life, because really there's words that I cannot say on public radio, and those words are how I feel about it. And I think it's the more serious shows that kind of always end up with the like an underwhelming ending.
Right.
And then I think lighter shows, sitcoms like Big Bang Theory, Modern Family, you just focus more on the relationships of the characters, and you just end on this like warm and fuzzy note, versus the more serious shows are just like,
Any Korean dramas that come to mind?
Really good endings. And also, this is how like far behind I am on my drama watching. 동백꽃 필 무렵 was like one of the latest dramas I watched, and that was years ago. That had a great ending. Going even further back, like far, far back.
Yes.
파리의 연인 lover. That was like what, decades ago? Yeah, of course. Yeah, that ending was interesting.
All right.
It was very interesting.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We're going to get into our first update. We're going to go to the Brothers Welfare Center and the state's compensation for the victims.
Right. So recently, another court ruling came out outlining the government's responsibility in the Brothers Welfare Center case. So for a bit of background, this was a welfare center here in Busan where the government back in the 70s and 80s, they rounded up what they called vagrants off the streets, about 38,000 of them. But a lot of them had families, had jobs, or were teenagers. And the victims were subject to violence, sexual assault, and labor exploitations, and 650 died on site. So 15 victims in this particular case filed for compensations against the government. And this week, Seoul Central Regional Court ruled that the country must pay 4,680 million won in total, or about 70% of what the plaintiffs had requested.
Right.
So the victims will receive between 3 million and 1.1 billion won, depending on how long they were held at the center. And this follows kind of a landmark ruling from last year where Seoul Court also made the ruling for the first time ever that the state has compensation responsibilities. And a series of similar rulings have been coming out from both Seoul and Busan.
That's right. So once again, one of the stories out of Busan that we shouldn't just sweep under the rug, definitely. Well, there's been another incident involving the Peace Girl statue.
Right. So the 평화의 소녀상, according to Dongbu police, a man in his 30s set down a can of Japanese beer and sushi next to and on top of the statue. So this man was sitting on the bench next to the statue. So the bench is a part of the installation to signify, number one, the empty space that's left by the deceased victims of the Japanese wartime sexual slavery. And also it's open to the public to sit and keep the girl company, to be a part of that movement. So it actually has very profound meaning. But earlier this week, on the 27th, around 1 p.m., this man went there, sat down, took out this box of sushi, and he started drinking beer. He suddenly put the food down on the bench and then set the can of beer on top of the statue's head. So that was very much pointed. There was a police officer at the scene, and they stopped this individual. Turns out, this is the same exact person who put the black trash bag with the words "철거 demolish" written on the bags over the statues of the girl and also the forced laborers. So he's apparently a part of the civic group that's calling for the abolition of the Comfort Women Act. And essentially is seeking to take down the statues. Surprising. He's a Korean national, by the way.
Yes.
So I just
don't get it.
Surprising choice. Yeah.
Let's move on. For now, there is a major step to take care of building, I guess, like before the new Gadok airport gets up and running, right?
Right. So one major step ahead of breaking ground on the construction site is to figure out how many cultural heritage artifacts, historical artifacts, may be buried underground.
Sure.
And this is a necessary step under the law to protect such potential buried artifacts. Because according to scholars, there were these shell mounds and earthenware that were discovered in parts of the planned sites on Gadok Island that's suspected to be from the Neolithic period. So that would be Shinseokgi period.
Okay.
So then it would be proof of human inhabitation on the island before we thought there was.
Yes.
So there are also Japanese military facilities from the forced occupation period that's on the island. And these have been reasons why many people had been requesting for a full investigation into the cultural heritage on the island.
Well, what's happening now and what's going to happen if more artifacts are found?
Right. So first, the Land Infrastructure and Transport Ministry has put out a public call for a company to take care of the research, and they'll strike a deal once it selects its contractor. And that company will figure out the exact distribution of potential artifacts, what kind of artifacts they are, and their importance.
Yes.
And then an expert panel will convene to decide to give permission for excavation, and an archaeological advisory panel will be convened for extra input if necessary.
All right. Let's move on. Next up, get your ticketing fingers ready because the Busan One Asia Festival's concert ticketing round 2. It's opening up soon.
Yeah, so get your internet connections ready or find a PC room if you are serious about this because you should be. So pre-sales for the Busan One Asia Festival, the BOF Big Concert, and it's so big, the title is actually The Big Concert. It opens on May 3rd. Mark your calendars. So the first round of tickets but they sold out. Completely sold out within the first 15 minutes with the server. Basically, it gave out at one point. But phase 2 of the tickets will open at 7 p.m. on May 3rd on Yes24. One person can get up to 2 tickets, so no like hoarding or those like macros. So the lineups include G.O.D, Super Junior, DNE, Zero Base One, and Boy Next Door. So the Busan Tourism Organization has set their goal for the BOF Festival to 49,000 Korean nationals and 11,000 foreign visitors. And they've actually expanded ticket sales to Taiwanese and Japanese platforms as well. So if we have overseas listeners, yes, they are available, along with special tourism packages that include KTX trains from Seoul. So your transfers here will be more seamless.
Yes, yes. Well, that's coming up, and I know many people are excited about that. Lastly, another big event coming up, the Busan Children's Day Party.
Right. So this is Busan's biggest Children's Day event, hosted by Busan City, the Education Office, and the Cinema Center.
Okay.
And it'll take place, of course, on May 5th at the Cinema Center under the theme of Our Colorful and Green World. So unfortunately, last year's event was canceled because there was that odd, unseasonal, huge storm right around Children's Day weekend. Right. So we're back and we're going all out plus some extra. So events include this very popular YouTuber, Kupsik Wang. He'll give a talk, some EBS characters and a musical featuring, and parents and children are well aware of 번개맨. And then he's actually from my era slightly too. So he's like a superhero, 뿡뿡이 and 뚝딱이. So they're all kind of retro characters who have made a comeback. Also, this is adorable, a kids EDM party.
Are you serious?
I kid you not. Some 동요 children's songs busking and magic and balloon show. So it's going to be exciting.
Yes.
And other events will be going on include flea markets, a masked singer competition for children, and games. Also, and I know every home has this, you can bring your old books to exchange them for new ones at the flea market. It's for every 3 old books, you get 1. So yeah, don't miss out.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, Haley, for the updates. And now let's get to your traffic and weather. So here it is. It is now 7:16. It's time for your traffic and weather. It is slow moving on Lunong Samsungdaero from Myeongji Interchange to Shinho Bridge. There is congestion detected on the Dongso overpass from Bomnaekwol to the old Kaegum tollgate. And it's also slow on Pyeongyo. That's going from out of the city center, and that's from the Wondong Interchange. As for the weather, it's currently 15 degrees Celsius, and the daytime high will go up to 22 degrees, fluctuating between sunny and cloudy skies. This was your traffic and weather.
Check this out.
This is Morning Wave Busan.
Everybody, wait a minute.
This is Morning Wave.
Morning Wave.
You are listening to
Morning Wave.
Morning Wave in Busan.
What show is this?
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Here we go. Morning Wave in Busan.
It's now time for News Digest, so Haley's with us once again. First up, we're going to talk about the doctors' walkout and medical reforms story. So a key part of the reforms is to expand the medical school quota. Where are we on the quota for next year? Do we have any idea?
Right, so it's in the works, but of course the government did partially concede to the doctors and allowed for individual medical schools to set their respective quota for the following school year at about 50 to 100% of the government's planned expansion.
Right.
But according to reports, only national universities are looking to actually go back on parts of that quota expansion. So what am I talking about? There are 9 national universities that have medical schools, and they've had additional quota assigned to them for the year 2025. But 3 have decided to cut down on this figure by half, so going to the lower end of the allowed spectrum. So that would be Gyeongbuk, Gyeongsang, and Jeju National Universities.
I see.
And then of the remaining 6, 4 are looking to cut down on the quota, and 2 are in the process of getting students' input. But on the contrary, most private universities are actually looking to maintain their assigned quota at 100% level.
I see. Well, how is this going to affect the larger reform measures of growing these national regional universities?
Right. So on the surface, it's just a number. It's just a quota for 1 year, but it's ultimately about this goal of increasing the size and capability of national regional university hospitals because they are to act as medical hubs for their respective cities and provinces. And the logic is that the doctors who are trained in these regional universities would stay there. And that's actually substantiated by data. According to the Korean Medical Association research, it showed that a doctor who did his or her residency at a non-capital metropolitan city, so for example, Busan, was 12 times more likely to remain in that respective city than to move to the capital area. And the thing about these private universities is that their training hospitals are mostly located in the capital area. So we're actually then, sending students or sending trainee doctors back to the capital, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of a more equal distribution of medical resources. So ultimately, then this would only serve to boost the size of hospitals in the capital area, the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. So the decrease in student quota also may mean that the government then won't necessarily need to allocate additional resources, i.e. the budget, to add more professors or to infrastructure and resources to accommodate the influx of new students.
I see. So that's the status right now. Next, this is an issue that hits home for many of us. I'm talking about food deliveries.
Right. So many delivery apps these days have been, have been promoting free deliveries to their members or through like bundle delivery services. And of course, it's a welcome change as a getter of food deliveries, as a customer, because delivery fees can definitely change the final figure by a significant amount. You thought you're getting like an 2만 원, 20,000 won range food, and that bumps it up to 30,000 won because delivery fees of minimum of 2,000 up to 5,000 and even more depending on the day of the week, distance, time, and weather.
Yes. But I do want to take a step back because in my head, I'm thinking someone has to pay for it.
Nothing's free in life.
Exactly.
Right? So, and that is the restaurant owners. So there are actually 2 ways that your food gets delivered to you. So number 1, the restaurant will directly contact the delivery person. And in this case, the business pays for parts of the delivery fee and then shares the rest with the customer.
Sure.
And then the second is there is a middleman, the delivery app, which works as a middleman. In that case, the business pays commission to the delivery app to connect them to the delivery person, which ends up being 6 to 9% of the total bill. And they, on top of that commission, has to pay the delivery person 2,500 to 3,300 won. So there's actually more. Anytime a middleman gets involved, there's commission. But the thing about these free deliveries that Baemin and Coupang Eats are offering is that it only applies to the second case where these delivery apps work as middlemen and thus still get the commission. So then that increases the financial burden for the restaurant owners.
I see.
And on top of everything else, according to franchise owners of the top 5 domestic chicken franchises, they have to cough up about 6,000 won in delivery and commission for 1 chicken, which costs about 20,000 won. So their argument is actually the more they sell, the more money they lose. So ultimately, businesses could try to increase their profit margins by raising the ultimate menu prices. So then this free delivery could be a double-edged sword for customers.
Ultimately, I mean, we, the consumers, might end up paying for all of this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, lastly, we're going to go to Cairo, where ceasefire negotiations for Gaza, that region, are underway.
Right, so the latest proposal, it includes a 40-day truce in return for the release of hostages and also the prospect of displaced families being allowed back to northern Gaza. It reportedly also involves new wording on restoring calm or peace that's meant to satisfy Hamas's demand for a permanent ceasefire.
Yes.
And according to the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and UK's Foreign Secretary David Cameron, they both call this offer by Israel quote-unquote generous, although Hamas does take issue with that wording.
Yes.
In any case, mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and the U.S., they've been attempting for weeks to broker a new agreement that would secure at least a pause in the fighting and the release of the 133 hostages from Israel, at least 30 of whom are presumed dead.
That's right. And, there have been so many attempts to broker a real lasting ceasefire. What makes this one different?
Right. So Hamas has only said publicly that it's studying the new proposal from Israel, but an unnamed senior official told AFP news agency that the atmosphere is positive unless there are new Israeli obstacles. So at least from Hamas, it's actually kind of a drastically positive response, at least compared to their previous stances.
I see.
And then for Israel, it's kind of being cornered from the global allies, from the international communities, as well as the families of the hostages who have been staking out a protest.
Right.
And also on Sunday's phone call between U.S. President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that phone call is set to focus on these negotiations.
Okay.
And there has been also a need to sustain a more increasing aid reaching Gaza and continued U.S. opposition to full-scale offensives on the southern city of Rafah. So
Yes.
kind of the general atmosphere may be pushing both sides to a ceasefire.
Well, that's what, of course, everyone is hoping for. So we'll report to you on the latest details, listeners out there. But thank you for all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
You. See you in a bit.
All right, with that, let's take our first song break. Here it is, Way Back Home by Sean.
멈춘 시간 속 잠든 너를 찾아가 아무리 막아도 결국 너의 곁인 걸 결국엔 여행을 끝내 이젠 돌아가 너라는 집으로 지금 다시 way back home 닫아도 다시 열린 서랍 같아 하늘로 높이 날린 넌 자꾸 내게 되돌아와 힘들게 삼킨 이별도 다 그대로인 걸 수없이 떠는 길 위에서 난 너를 발견하고 비우려 했던 마음은 또 이렇게 너로 차올라 발걸음의 끝에 늘 네가 부딪혀 그만 멈춘 시간 속 잠든 너를 찾아가 아무리 막아도 결국 너의 곁인 걸 결국엔 여행을 끝내 이젠 돌아가 너라는 집으로 지금 다시 way back home 열어 기억을 꺼내들어 부서진 시간 위에서 선명히 너는 떠올라 길 잃은 맘속에 널 가둔 채 살아 그만 멈춘 시간 속 잠든 너를 찾아가 아무리 막아도 결국 너의 곁인 걸 결국엔 여행을 끝내 이젠 돌아가 너라는 집으로 지금 다시 way back home 세상을 뒤집어 찾으려 해 오직 너로 완결된 이야기를 모든 걸 잃어도 난 너와 나면 돼 빛이 다 꺼진 여기 나를 안아줘 끝까지 얄났던.
Welcome back, everybody. It's now 7:29 on this Tuesday morning. And so we've been going over the summit between President Yoon Suk-yeol and DP Chair Lee Jae-myung. The two sides didn't really come to any official agreement, at least in the form of a joint statement. They did reaffirm many of their differences during the 2-hour sit-down. However, it does seem they did see eye to eye on some issues. One of these was on expanding the medical school quota. So according to the presidential spokesperson, they agreed on the need for medical reform and that the quota expansion was inevitable. DP leader Lee Jae-myung promised the party's cooperation on the president's direction for said reform. And the two sides also agreed on the need for future meetings, saying that the people's livelihoods were the most important task, although they differed on how to approach this subject. All right, so that is our main story for today. We're going to get to the fun part, the text topic. You know, maybe, I don't know, there's a particular show I believe we're going to talk about in hour number 2, in issue Wa글와글. So that got us to thinking. Sometimes when a show ends, you know, whether it's a drama, comedy, when a show ends, there is a fantastic ending. And sometimes really, really underwhelming or kind of terrible. So what show's ending disappointed you? And what about the contrary? What show do you think had a great ending? 자, 여러분이 보시는 드라마 중에 만족한 엔딩은? 그리고 반대로 실망한 엔딩. I can think of one immediately off the top of my head, but you know, actually, one of our listeners, she typed it in first. She typed it, I'm talking about 최윤중 Waver said, 재벌집 막내 아들. 결말 보고 너무나도 황당했어요. I agree with that. I really enjoyed that drama series until the last episode. I was disappointed. And I know Haley mentioned Game of Thrones. I haven't even started watching that because, you know, two housemates, they were watching it and they were like, they got to the ending and they were just like, what is this? And that's the nice version of what they said. And they went on for like 3 days complaining about the ending, the last season, as many people say. So that is, you know, the gist of it. 가보자고 Waver says Big Little Lies has a satisfying ending. Ooh. And they say Baby Reindeer, a new show on Netting, has a really bad ending. So disappointed. It started so good, but ended badly. Ooh. Well, I will read a few more of your answers in just a little bit. I'll be back with our hot clip. For today's hot clip, you know, we talk about 갑질 frequently here in Korea. However, this story is from New York, the state of New York, where an upstate New York district attorney is now under investigation after police body cam showed her getting into a heated confrontation with an officer who had stopped her for speeding. Let's listen to the clip from ABC News.
Now to the upstate New York district attorney who is under scrutiny tonight after ignoring a traffic stop. The incident was captured on police body camera video. DA Sandra Dorley is seen having a tense exchange with a police officer. Local leaders are demanding an investigation and what the DA is saying tonight about that encounter.
Tonight, growing calls to investigate this New York State district attorney.
Get out of my house.
Stunning police body camera footage obtained by our affiliate WHAM showing Monroe County DA Sandra Dorley moments after authorities say she refused to pull over for a traffic stop last week, instead driving home. The officer following Dorley less than a mile to her garage, confronting her.
What is the reason you're so against what I'm doing? I'm doing my job. You say you're a DA?
I am the DA.
Okay.
Okay, let me get you my badge. I am the DA of Monroe County.
Dorley admitting she was speeding.
I was going 55 coming home from work.
55 and a 35.
I don't really care.
Claiming she did not hear the sirens and didn't stop because of other cars, appearing to use her position of power to intimidate the responding officer.
I understand the law better than you.
At one point, she even appears to call the police chief.
35, I'm Phillips Road.
To leave me alone.
Can you stay over here, ma'am? This is a
I'm
traffic.
not
This is
staying
a
over
legal
here.
traffic stop.
Eventually telling the officer to write her a ticket.
I'm the one who prosecutes it, okay? Just go ahead and do it. Go ahead.
And ultimately apologizing.
You know what I've been dealing with all day? 3 murders in the city. And do you think I really care if I was going 20 miles over the speed limit?
In a statement, Dorley saying she pled guilty and had no intention of using her position to receive a benefit, adding nobody, including her district attorney, is above the law.
Dorley says she's already paid the fine. Rena, we know county officials are asking for a probe. What can you tell us about their request for New York State Attorney General Letitia James to investigate her conduct?
Well, Lindsay, city council members say they are questioning Dorley's fitness to serve because of her behavior. We have reached out to the AG's office for comment, but haven't heard back yet.
So as you heard in that clip, this district attorney, Sandra Dorley, now in seemingly some hot water. Yes, she did release an official apology letter apologizing for her behavior. But I don't know, does it really excuse what was already said, what was already recorded, and just the way she treated that police officer, and he was simply doing his job. So anyhow, this was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for Sports Insider. Andrew's here.
How's it going?
How do you like your studio?
The new digs?
Yes.
The new digs are all right. I enjoy the... I know if for listeners watching on YouTube or whatnot, it's a bit hard to see the table setting that we're at. But I think, I mean,
love the table.
Obviously for getting used to for sure. But I feel it's a lot more open and less cluttered, if that makes sense.
I know, like, what you're seeing on YouTube is very different from what we experience.
Yeah, for sure.
The camera, it's not like literally. It's hard to describe, but you know what I'm talking about.
But it's an upgrade. Yeah. It's a massive upgrade on the equipment we're using for this to try to make a better presentation for our listeners, for sure. But I think it's as a host and as a guest, it'll take some getting used to because I'm used to looking this way and not this way. I don't know. It's and I'm on the other side of the table.
Yes,
if our listeners don't
many
know,
different things.
So I don't know. I feel important.
We're working the
side.
kinks out.
Yeah, for sure.
Text topic. We're talking about shows, dramas, comedies, any like TV series that you watched until the end. Like, for example, I know some people...
quite a few.
Like, some people watch Seinfeld from beginning to end. Friends, that's a popular one.
Yeah.
Modern Family. And then also, to add to that, were you satisfied with the ending?
There's a couple of shows that I would definitely say I watched, from start to finish.
Yes.
One that I was not satisfied with was Lost.
Lost.
So
it started off strong.
Actually, probably the first 4 seasons were quite strong.
Yes.
And then it kind of went, like the ending left a lot of people like, what was that? So it was open for interpretation.
Sure.
And I didn't like that. I wanted like, hey, tell me what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, start to finish.
But did you like the ending? People complained.
Definitely, because I think the writers they should have gotten out of the show and let someone else take over. They kind of ruined it, and I mean, everyone said it, but again, they wanted to finish it. I don't know, but like Seinfeld, things like that. I think there's just too many episodes. Do you know what I mean? Like
years upon years.
Yeah, I think I watched more Seinfeld episodes on reruns because it was like on
always
at a certain time of the day,
right.
like in like Friends, and if you go back to like Full House and things like that.
Full House, oh my gosh,
this is taking us
the
back.
The original,
oh yeah, definitely,
not the reboot.
Definitely.
Right? Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely Lost was one I probably wasn't too happy with. There's another show called The Wire. I mean, start to finish, I watched that. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Oh, what was the name? I can't. PD name. Do you remember the name of the show that I recommended to you? And it was so good. With Claire Danes.
Homeland.
Homeland. hand. Oh, sorry. Did I yell?
Nice. That was excitement. I love it. That was fantastic.
That was a good series.
Again, until it got to a point where, you know, it was kind of, but I didn't finish that.
I didn't finish it. I'm still keeping it the last season.
Yeah.
It's like it's there, and I'm saving it for like a rainy day.
And with that show, I asked some friends who are in the military, asking them how closely it was. And there's definitely things in that program that take people inside areas where they didn't know existed. So it kind of brought some real life from perspective.
Sure.
But also it was pretty dramatic.
It is. I mean, it is. Drama. That's why they call it a drama. Dramatic.
Exactly.
All right.
We're here for some drama, some sports drama. So, I really hoped I would be sitting here this week talking about the Korean under-23 team heading to the final of the AFC Cup.
Can we?
I really only want to talk about this because I want to talk about some of, if I want to call it, excuses that they're coming up with.
Yes.
And reasons why. So it's, they lost last week to Indonesia, who is also kind of, if you want to make it another kick in whatever, you would, because they're coached by a Korean, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's too long size.
Yeah, so they ended up going to penalties and lost 11-10. I mean, for penalties to go that far, it is a crapshoot. It is just, it's all luck. To Indonesia on penalties in the quarterfinals. And, I mean, I don't know. Did you watch the game?
I didn't.
I watched the part of it and then I fell asleep
because it was just too it wasn't late enough in the night and it was too early. It was like 2 something in the morning, right?
Exactly.
So I was just like, I can't do it.
No, exactly.
And I'll be honest, I assumed we would win.
I think everybody did.
So that's why I didn't watch because I was like, I'll wait till the Olympics.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait 4 more years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, 4 more.
Yeah.
Almost 5.
Yeah. All right. So what went wrong?
Yeah, a few reasons are coming out of that are coming out of the camp. The assistant coach actually took to the media first before Hwang Sung-hong, the manager, did. Actually, he had a red card in the game in extra time, and I think that was also. I don't think that helped. Showed some very unprofessionalism by him. Sure, there might have been some grievances with the refs, but you got to keep your cool.
Yes.
So Myung Jae-young was the assistant coach. He blamed the early exit on injuries and absences of key players. And I'm hemming and hawing here because they did expect to get a few more players from Europe, but they weren't released from their teams because it's not a
FIFA sanctioned.
Exactly.
Thing. Right.
But come on. That shouldn't be a reason. And this is no slight on Indonesia, but the Korean Football Federation here and the Indonesian Football Federation, it's comparing apples to oranges.
Yes.
With funding, with the amount of talent, with the amount of training that goes into it, it's incomparable. You can't compare them.
I heard the snippets of the postmortem, and I don't like excuses. I'm sorry.
No, just say, hey, it's all right. And that's where Hwang Sung actually came out and said, hey, this is my fault.
I like that. I prefer that.
And I think he's doing it because, the players are young.
Yes.
It's not their fault.
I prefer that, though.
Sure, they're on the field. Maybe they missed some chances. There's a red card from their top goal scorer.
Right.
But also they kind of they didn't start their top goal scorer because they thought they would need him for the second half. And I was thinking that's the wrong approach.
Right.
Put it to bed early.
Just on all cylinders. You should be firing on all cylinders from the get-go.
Exactly.
Right.
So, he came out and he said, this may sound like an excuse, but after the Asian Games, there isn't much time left to get ready for the Olympics. And also, they kind of, I want to say the Federation did him a bit dirty in a way that they kind of had him in for a halftime, a halfway contract interview, essentially, and that was the Asian Games. If he could, succeed there, he would keep the job until 2024. But then he got also thrown into the senior team. So I think the Federation didn't help him out in this aspect.
Sure.
And he came out and said there needs to be major overhaul with what goes on and the coach's control with what goes on.
Right.
And I don't blame him for coming out and saying that.
And the thing is, I don't know. I didn't like the fact that he was chosen when he was already the under-23 head coach.
Yeah.
Why would you choose the same person to manage your senior men's football team? It's just my thinking.
I think it was just because he was there. He knew some of the players.
Still.
It could have been done a lot better. It could have been done a lot better.
I just don't understand the KFA. We'll just leave it there.
Yes.
All right.
Moving on.
Well, moving on. Do we have to go to the Premier League?
Yeah, we have to go to the Premier League. Now, sticking with soccer, hey, if I have to
talk about Liverpool,
talk about the death of my team, I think.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah,
No, but I do want to address the whole Mo Salah, Jurgen Klopp. What happened?
Yeah, so
there was a blow up, right?
What Kat's talking about is the game against West Ham on Saturday night. It was the early game actually as well, so I had a lot of eyes on it anyway. Sure. And if Liverpool would have won, they still would have been in the thick of it. But they was still probably would have been out of it. They needed some real help from other teams.
Yes.
But it also would have put pressure on Arsenal and Man City as well. Maybe they would have messed up. So what Kat is referring to here is that Mo Salah goes on when it's already 2-2 in the second half. Him, as well as Darwin Núñez, didn't start. And on the touchline before he goes on, Jurgen Klopp, the manager, goes over and says something to him, which he always goes and talks to his players, high fives, hugs.
Right.
But then it was almost like a little bomb in his ear.
Yes.
And Salah turned and then his hands started moving.
You could tell it was very animated.
And then, the camera was on that side too. For some lip readers out there, I'm sure they got what was going on. And essentially, I'm pretty sure he was saying, well, if I would have been on from the beginning, this wouldn't have been a problem kind of thing, right?
Why didn't he start?
Because he hasn't been playing well.
Yeah, well.
And then afterwards in the press conference, Jurgen Klopp was talked to first. And he addressed it and just shut it down. He said, we talked in the dressing room. It's done.
Right.
But then Mo Salah walked through the media area and he said, if I talk to you today, it's going to be fire.
Fire.
So I don't know what to take from that, but yeah. Now, moving back to, the title race. So the Arsenal Man City are alone at the top now. But now the North London Derby was the game of the weekend with Spurs welcome. I don't know if you want to say welcoming, but they are kind of welcoming Arsenal to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, Arsenal kept their Premier League title dreams alive on Sunday afternoon as they squeezed past Tottenham. 3-2.
And you know what? I just had a bad feeling. I didn't even bother watching.
I watched it, and it was
horrendous.
No, it was an amazing game.
Really?
It was, especially for me as a neutral. It was fantastic to watch. But again, at halftime, it was 3-0, 3-0 at halftime. Tottenham must be thinking, what are we doing wrong? Because they were playing so well. They also there was a penalty chance that it could have went either way.
Yes.
There was also a goal called back that I think probably should have been given.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did as well. But I don't really know. It was tough because in the second half they did show their true colors. They came out firing, got 2 goals back. But again, it wasn't enough, and it was a little bit too late. Now we're gonna.
This season, I have to say, like the refereeing, there's a lot of talk about the refereeing and the VAR, more so than past seasons, it seems.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so many inconsistencies which don't happen as much in other leagues. But also, I feel that there's not as many eyes in other leagues, so maybe we don't see it as much.
A lot of complaining.
But we're gonna get to a clip here from Son Heung-min talking after the game, and I just want our listeners to listen to his voice. It feels like somebody has actually sucked the life out of this such a happy gentleman. Let's listen.
Yeah, it is very, very tough to take it because the way we play, I think it was really good. We dominate the game, and considering 3 goals like this is painful. And those kind of games, I think we have to really step on it, and especially in the set pieces. And it's not individually. I think collectively, I think we have to be really strong on it. And I know they scored a lot of goals in the Premier League this season, but I think we got to do so much better, especially in the first half and the way we played.
I would really not like speaking to the cameras.
Yeah.
After a defeat like that, that was a London Derby.
For him, that was from Spurs TV. So he's going out and talk to they're his own people. So they're not going to ask questions or it's not reporters.
Right.
That's one thing. So it's kind of a little bit better than that. And they're not going to just really
throw him under the bus.
Exactly. So, it was, but you could, in the clip, we should actually show the clip because I haven't seen. Yes, sure, they lost at the Asian Cup as well, but it also I don't know. I'd never
Body
seen
language.
Sonny like that. Yeah, his head down the entire time.
Right.
Sad, but he did say at the end of the interview, we go again this week. We go again this week and try to keep our top 4 hopes alive, but they are dwindling. They need some help for other teams to beat Aston Villa.
And then the defense, we just can't. Okay. So.
But it's better than it was.
It was.
Yeah.
It is. And like, it's
Postecoglou is much better than playing the Mourinho ball or any of that stuff before.
Conte. Yeah.
Exactly. So, moving on.
Sajik.
Yes.
Lotte.
Yeah, but
what's going on?
Well, there were some fireworks at Sajik Stadium last week.
Are we talking about like literal fireworks or like really good fireworks?
Well, but it didn't involve any Lotte players.
Oh.
Yeah. So SSG Landers slugger Chae Jung is a new home run king in the KBO, or South Korean baseball, if you will. Now, Chae launched his 468th home run of his career off Lotte starter Ian Bok at Sajik Stadium last week to take over from former Samsung Lions slugger Lee Sung-yup. Now, a lot of people are coming out and saying, sure, maybe he took over from Lee Sung-yup, but Lee Sung-yup went to Japan and played for multiple years. Not to take anything away from Chae Jung, but it kind of, you know what I'm saying,
there
right?
was a little break there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Chae, who's 37 now, has spent his entire 20-year career, 20 years, so he made his debut back in 2005 as an 18-year-old. Back then it was called the SK Wyverns.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah, the Wyverns.
The name has changed since then.
Right.
Now, according to the Landers, so a lot of people were wondering what was going to happen with who caught the ball.
Yes.
Because if it would have been at home, there was a lot of a ticket package and these things that were going to take place. But it was also that, they want the ball back.
Yeah.
But it's up to the person to give it back.
They don't have to.
They don't have to, as we saw with the whole Otani thing in LA. That's a different thing. But according to the Landers, it was actually a Seoul-based Kia Tigers fan who caught the home run ball, who was in Busan on business and decided to, go to the game last week on Wednesday's game. And it wasn't his favorite team, but he just wanted to go watch some ball. And also the fact that, Chae could almost maybe, take the record. He wanted to be there. Now, he donated to ball. I say donated because actually he got quite a bit for this, which is pretty amazing. So he gets a ticket package for 2 season tickets for the rest of this season.
Ooh.
And next season.
Really?
For all Landers games. All right. He got a giant ball signed by the entire Landers players. He also received a 1.4 million won for an online voucher through their sponsor, another voucher from the SSG group, and then another one for for hotels and resorts.
I'm looking at all the
also
goodies.
some coffee stuff. But the good thing here, which turned out pretty good, is that his younger brother is actually a Landers fan, which is great.
I'm stuck on the free drinks for a year ad star thing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then also the hotels and stuff. So
I know.
It's quite it is a package. They really wanted that ball, to be able to put in their trophy cabinet. Like this is the one. Or it might actually even go to, the KBO Hall of Fame that will be put in place as well. But I think it'll probably stay at their stadium.
Yes.
But it's pretty cool because, he gets those tickets for his brother, but he can also be able to take who he wants to when maybe, LG is in town. So Kia. Kia is his team.
It's his team.
Yeah, his team. Which they play them so many times a year, which is great.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, big congrats to not just Chae Jung but to Kang Sung-koo.
Yeah. So if you're looking to check out Lotte game, they are in town this week tonight until Thursday against the Kiom Heroes, and then also on Friday through Sunday against Samsung Lions, but that is in Daegu. So also if you want to travel up, great ballpark up there and always a good, fun away day. So maybe you want to check it out.
All right. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for the sports.
Sounds good.
We'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Andrew.
Bye-bye.
And with that, let's get to our final song for hour number 1, Beautiful Day by U2.
Heart is a balloon, shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck, and the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you could lend a hand. this down. Even if that doesn't ring true, you've been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. It's a beautiful day. Touch me. Take me to that other place. Teach me. I know I'm not a hopeless case. See the world in green and blue. See China right in front of you. See the canyons broken by cloud. See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. See the bedroom fires at night. See the oil fields at first light. And see the bird with a leaf in her mouth. After the flood, all the colors came out. It was a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. Beautiful day. Touch me. Take me to that other place.
Your Reach to the World. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
담당하고 글로벌 부산의 미디어 플랫폼인 부산 영어방송을 통해 영어하기 편한 도시 부산을 만들고 있습니다. 글로벌 허브 도시 부산, 그 중심에 부산 글로벌 도시재단이 있습니다.
Busan Global City Foundation, leads the global hub city Busan.
나 정상훈, 밀당의 고수지만 등받이는 당겨 않는 버스 매너. 운동기구에 묻은 땀은 꼭 닦아주는 헬스장 매너. 주차할 땐 선을 넘지 않는 주차장 매너. 어디서든 매너 있게, 매력 있게. 공공 매너를 지켜주세요. 공익광고협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's morning.
And what a lovely morning.
Dynamic Busan.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Shelby.
What show is this? Hello.
Hello, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody. Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8 o'clock. This is news highlights. President and DP chief hold first official meeting. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Democratic Party or DP chairman Lee Jae-myung sat down for their first ever meeting yesterday, where Lee made a series of demands ranging from a special probe to cash handouts. He asked Yoon to agree to a special probe into suspicions surrounding a Marine's death as well as the president's family. He further asked that the president express regret for previously vetoing bills and promise to respect the decision of the National Assembly in the future. The ruling People Power Party, or PPP, welcomed this meeting as a start of a dialogue, whereas the DP expressed disappointment at what it perceived as an unwillingness for change. Government to deploy more medical staff as hospitals' weekly breaks increase. Health Minister Cho Yu-hong said yesterday that the government plans to deploy more medical staff as senior doctors at 5 major hospitals in Seoul decided to take a weekly day off starting this week. Last week, medical professors working for South Korea's 5 major hospitals decided to suspend their work either on a day or on a weekly basis. Seoul National University, Severance, and Korea University hospitals will take a day off from outpatient treatments and surgeries today. Cho added that the government will unwaveringly push for medical reform and call for senior and junior doctors to stop their collective action. Foreigners seeking medical treatment in South Korea hit record high. The number of foreigners seeking medical treatment in South Korea reached a record high figure last year, surpassing 600,000. According to the health ministry yesterday, 605,768 foreign nationals visited the country for medical services in 2023, up 144.2% year on year. Foreigners residing in South Korea who are eligible for national health insurance were excluded from the tally. 30% of the foreigners were from Japan, followed by 18.5% from China and 12.7% from the U.S. 35.2% of the patients had sought treatments in dermatology and another 16.8% in cosmetic surgery. Police vow stern response to illegal Labor Day demonstrations. The Korean Confederation of Trade Unions notified the National Police Agency yesterday of its plan to hold an 8,500-member rally on Wednesday in 15 downtown areas across the nation. The Federation of Korean Trade Unions declared to police that some 7,000 members will stage a demonstration in Yeouido on Labor Day. Police unveiled plans to mobilize 162 riot squads to sternly tackle any illegalities. Police plan to break up demonstrations if protesters engage in unlawful assembly, including occupying roads that fall outside the areas that union groups had declared. Japanese yen weakens to 34-year low. The Japanese yen weakened to a 34-year low of 160 yen against the US dollar for the first time since April 1990 on Monday before gaining by 4 yen amid speculation over state intervention. The yen-dollar exchange sharply rose from around 155 yen against the dollar after the Bank of Japan froze the key interest rate in the range last Friday. While Japanese authorities have failed in preventing the local currency's value from plunging to the 34-year low through the suggestion of a possible intervention, the FX market forecasts that authorities' direct intervention will have a limited effect. This was News Highlights. All right, listeners, it's now time for Issue Wa글와글. Haley's back in the studio.
Hello again.
Well, first, we have to talk about this terrible tragedy of a 2-year-old child who died inside his own apartment complex.
Right. So this happened on April 27th. A 2-year-old boy was hit by a parcel delivery truck at an apartment complex in Sejong City. So what happened is that the boy and his older brother, they'd followed their father who had come out of the apartment to take out the recycling. So this apartment complex was relatively new, and they have these kind of the little centers for recycling and trash. So the older brother was with the father sorting through the recycling, and the young boy had just kind of stayed near the apartment, near the playground, and they were just only about 1 or 2 meters away from where the accident happened. So the boy was hit by a parcel delivery truck that did not see him when it started moving. Well, some netizens initially criticized the family for leaving a 2-year-old alone, regardless of how close or how far away they were. But apparently the story is much more complicated than that. So the site of the accident was right in front of the apartment's playground. And that apartment actually has what's called these bollards, or those short poles that stick out from the ground. You usually see them at intersections in front of crosswalks to ban cars or vehicles from entering that area. So on principle, the vehicles are actually banned from entering the apartment on the ground level. However, it turns out these bollards are not locked into the ground for emergency purposes. If emergency vehicles need to get in, they can't just ram through them. So it turns out it's easy to just kind of pull them out of the ground if they're not locked in. And parcel delivery workers, out of convention, would do that so they can access the apartment from the ground level and drive into the complex. So the driver of the truck said that he had come into the apartment for delivery on the ground level and did not see the 2-year-old boy standing in front of his car when he started driving. The driver has been booked by the police and is undergoing police questioning.
Such a tragic story to begin with. Now we're going to go to the U.S. where a possible Donald Trump's running mate, animal history or treatment or cruelty or whatever you want to call it is under fire, this story.
Right. So the running mate is the potential vice president candidate who would be on the same ticket. And the one person who's being considered as a very strong contender is Christine Noem, a South Dakota governor, I believe. Right. So she's a possibility. But in her memoir, she has admitted to killing her family animals. Right. So what happens is that she admitted to shooting down her own dog and claims in her book that the dog had aggressive personality and needed to be trained to be used as a hunting dog. And she describes how that attempt to train the dog went badly. And when she took the dog on a hunt to hunt down pheasants, the dog started chasing the pheasants and kind of ruined the entire hunt. And this was also controversial as well. She apparently used an electronic collar that sends shocks through the dog's throat to bring the dog under control. That didn't work, and on the way home after the hunt, the dog apparently went chasing after a local family's chickens and did quite a bit of damage. So after this incident, Noam says that what had to be done was done, meaning she personally shot the dog dead. Also, she writes in the same book that she killed her family's goat that was not castrated and was therefore behaving in an unruly way.
That's
in
what
the
animals
same way.
do, though.
So
isn't that animal nature?
That's animal nature, and but yeah, it's interesting. So, and what's really interesting is, and kind of disturbing, is she used these analogies to say that it proves that she will do anything in life that's difficult, messy, and ugly, and she'll also do the same in politics if it's something that needs to be done. So it did not go over well with many people, especially both dog lovers and those who use dogs to hunt.
Right.
But she basically concluded the story saying, hopefully I'll be a better politician than I'm a storyteller. Yeah, so that happened, and that's that.
Sometimes I wish we're a podcast and not public radio.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm honestly I honestly don't know what to say to that.
Like speechless.
Right.
Like
right. Not just because we have standards, but I honestly don't know what to say.
And I don't care which party she's from. I really don't. All right. Leaving that there.
Right.
Next, the Japanese authorities have decided to put up a huge barrier to block the very famous Mount Fuji. Why?
Because of over-tourism and bad tourist behavior. Right. So there's this popular photo spot in Japan's Yamanashi prefecture. And it's in front of, we don't have that here, so I can say the brand name. It's also news. The Lawson's Convenience Store, the very famous chain. And there's, it's very popular on social media because of that juxtaposition. You have the huge convenience store, this one-story convenience store on this flat land, and the mountain jutting out from behind it. And it's kind of supposedly this very famous like Japanese site because it has the brand and the mountain. So it has become a very popular photo location, according to the town official. And mostly non-Japanese tourists are overcrowding the spot, and they ignore repeated warnings and even traffic signs. So they're like into the road taking photos. So as a last resort, the prefecture decided to put up this 2.6 meter tall and it's 20 meter wide mesh net, and that'll be put up next week.
Right, and I'm sure some of you saw the visuals on our YouTube channel, so that's what we're talking about.
Exactly, but it's not the only over-tourism issue that we've been seeing in Japan. Another measure, now we're going to Kyoto, the famous geisha district.
Yes.
Tourists are banned from small alleys.
What?
Yeah, they're like physically banned from going in because tourists follow these geishas on their way to evening entertainment, and they take non-consensual photography, and they'll just even harass them into these very narrow alleys. So overall, a record number of tourists, international tourists, are traveling to Japan because of the very, very lowered yen currency rate.
That's right.
As we've covered. The number of monthly visitors exceeded 3 million in March for the first time. But of course, with more people come more problems.
Yes, yes. All right. Lastly, and this has everything to do with our text topic today, let's talk about the popular K-drama that just ended. Oh, no, I haven't seen the ending. Spoiler.
Oh, no.
It's okay. Spoil it for me because, you know, I do anything for Morning Wave in Busan. Queen of Tears and its controversial ending.
Massive. I'm going to lay out the entire ending. I know some of our wavers they watched. So if you don't want to,
just lower the volume.
Don't turn it off.
Yeah, don't
mute
turn it
me.
off.
You can mute me. Catherine has no choice.
Yes.
I guess you can take off the headset.
No.
La la la.
La 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 la. Okay.
So this popular TV and drama, it finished its 16-episode run on the weekend. Record 24.9% rating. That's the highest for that station, period. Massive spoilers, last warning. So the drama has a very closed ending, happily ever after. You know, with the happily ever after stories, the couple kind of metaphorically rides into the sunset, implying that they lived their lives through happily ever after.
But I love the implying part.
Oh, there was no implication in this. It was like they show the couple's lives until the very, very end.
What do you mean by the very end?
One of the last scenes is the shot of the main character's grave.
Like till ripe old age?
The headstone of the grave,
Was
the
that
exact
necessary?
date of her death. So we know exactly when she died. By the way, she lived until the age of 84, and her husband lovingly stroking the grave. So,
Seriously?
Yeah, I kid you not. The response is divided. Some people thought it was very profound. It resonated with the lifelong, literally the lifelong love.
What about the others?
Others thought, did we have to? But they thought it was a little unnecessary. Yeah, you know, there's something about leaving something to the imagination.
Hey, listeners, did any of you catch the ending? And I'm curious as to your thoughts, whether you like the ending,
right,
or you didn't.
So, of course, you know, us being very satirical people, they have named up it, not just a happy ending, but a 무덤 ending, a gravestone end, a grave end, literally the grave end.
Yes.
While we're on the topic of pop culture, it is interesting. So this TV and drama rating almost 25% highest ever, but, divided response. So popularity doesn't necessarily translate immediately to critical acclaim. For instance, let's talk about 범죄도시 4, The Roundup, punishment. So this massive successful series led by Ma Dong-seok just passed its break-even point on opening week.
I bet
by
the
the way, I was
so
there.
happy.
I was one of them. I watched it on
Is it
opening
worth
day.
a watch in the theater?
It's really funny.
Oh, really?
And I also like Kim Woo-yeol, the actor. So I was happy.
You're like,
it's very attractive.
okay.
Yeah. 4.25 million viewers as of the weekend, passing the BEP, the break-even point of 3.5 million.
Wow.
So they're just raking money at this point. It's widely expected at this rate to be the year's second 10 million film. Although interestingly, the ratings for the film, the reviews comes to 7.65 out of 10, which is the lowest in the entire series. Commercially, I believe it is at this rate, at least the most commercially successful. But
yes.
Yeah.
Critically, maybe not so.
Maybe not so. Reviews a little different.
Well, when you get to the fourth installment of anything, it's really hard
We're not going there with the expectation this is going to be Citizen Kane.
It's not going to be some new kind of
right.
I mean, it is.
Nothing's new.
It's the fourth installment.
Yeah, and I think they're slated to do. They're contracted through 8. So if you just want a fun, punchy show or film.
One of our listeners agrees. 범죄도시 완전 재밌어요.
Yeah, it was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for today. So thanks for all the news and all the issues. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Everybody, this was Haley. And now I'll be back with our traffic and weather. It is now 8:16. It's time for your updated traffic and weather. First up, we have congestion on Shincheonlo from Gwangan Bridge to the Taeyeon Overpass. Also backed up on the Dongso Overpass from Hakjang to the Old Kaegum Tollgate. And there is buildup on Byeongno from Suyeong Tunnel to Mangmi Interchange. It's currently 15 degrees Celsius and it's partially cloudy. The daytime high will go up to 22 degrees, so slightly warmer than yesterday. It looks like we're going to have a fluctuating day between sunny to cloudy skies. This was your traffic and weather. All right, here's our next song. This is Cold as Ice by Ava Max.
I keep a pistol under my pillow at night. I close the curtains and I sharpen my knife. I build my walls up and I build them up so high, so no one's getting inside. I learned my lesson last time. Baby, just walk away, just walk away. You heading straight for danger. Hey, don't make a mistake. I'm just a little bit out of my mind. 'Cause I'm cold as ice. I'm not the type to keep you warm at night. Better believe it that I'm cold as ice. I never stay for too long, too long. I'm cold, cold as ice. Cold as ice. Cold as ice. At night I heat you up with bourbon and red. Put on a fire when I take off my dress. We'll set your match when I get lit inside of your head. I swear you're gonna regret. You wish we never had met. Baby, just walk away, just walk away. You heading straight for danger. Hey, don't make a mistake. I'm just a little bit out of my mind. 'Cause I'm cold as ice. I'm not the type to keep you warm at night. Better believe it that I'm cold as ice. I never stay for too long, too long. I'm cold, cold as ice. Cold as ice.
All right, listeners, it's time to review our text topic one last time. So I asked you about the endings of shows, right? Friends, I definitely watched from beginning to end. I watched it again, actually, when it was on Netting, right? It was just like going back in time, living through the late 90s, early 2000s again. And it was really refreshing. Although I did see some of the dated items and maybe things or issues that weren't issues back, then, but are now. So it was interesting to kind of see that. Leslie says, I watched all the seasons of West Wing. I was completely satisfied with the Josh and Donna ending after patiently waiting for that ship to sail. Ooh. What series? Oh, did anybody watch Scandal? Scandal? Yes, I watched that from beginning to end, and that was a really good show. House of Cards, I stopped watching because of that whole Kevin Spacey big scandal, real life scandal. And he was my favorite actor before everything, went sour. So that was a really good series that I didn't get to the last season. So that's another one. Many people commenting on whether they saw the ending of Queen of Tears. 태진 saying, 가족 모두 초3, 초5 아이들까지 봤는데요. 마지막 저만 20분보다 다들 잤어요. 다음날 아이들과 아내가 잘 잤어. Good choice 하더라고요. So I guess alluding to the fact that it wasn't necessarily a great ending. It's split. The decision, on whether, or the opinion of whether an ending is good or not, of course, is according to everyone's preferences. All right, now we're going to get to our special interview, and I'll be back with that in just a moment. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, I believe they're called NOAA, NOAA, and International Coral Reef Initiative, ICRI, confirmed on the 15th local time that there is a global coral bleaching event taking place right now. And this marks the fourth such event on record. Reports have confirmed widespread bleaching across parts of the western Indian Ocean, off the western coast of Indonesia, parts of the South Atlantic, and along the northeast coast of Brazil. Well, it's not a secret that the Earth's temperature has been on the rise. We've been talking about it, right, for such a long time. But the ocean is showing us the dire consequences of what we can now physically see with our eyes. And so just how bad is the damage and how is it affecting us? Let's find out. We have invited Dr. Emily Darling, who is a coral reef scientist and the director of coral reef conservation at the Wildlife Conservation Society. Let's say hi to her. Hi, thanks for joining us today.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So first of all, Dr. Darling, if you can first explain what exactly coral bleaching is, because all of us are basically lay people here, and how important coral reefs are.
Well, as you said, with temperatures rising around the world, the oceans absorb 98% of that temperature. And so the oceans are getting hotter, and bleaching is a stress response of corals, and it turns coral reefs white. Now, that stress response is when a really critical relationship between a coral and a tiny algae that lives in it breaks down. The coral loses its color that we're also familiar with. The coral turns white or bleaches, and that's a sign that the coral is starving to death. Now, if hot waters stick around long enough on a coral reef, corals will die across vast areas, vast soccer fields as far as you can see. And that type of death is called a mass bleaching event. Now, in terms of how important coral reefs are, they're valued at $2.7 trillion annually, and over 1 billion people around the world depend on coral reefs. Now, this is for coastal protection. Corals are a living seawall from tsunamis, from cyclones, from storms. And of course, they provide critical livelihoods, culture, and food security from coral reef fisheries, and of course, are a critical economy of tourism.
Thanks for thoroughly explaining how important this is to all of us. Well, in terms of the significance of the global coral bleaching event that's going on right now as we speak, I mean, how big of an event is this?
So the announcement 2 weeks ago was that this is the largest bleaching event ever on record. Bleaching has been recorded in 50 countries, and more than half of the world's coral reefs have experienced bleaching level temperatures based on satellite records. Now, the significance is also that this is happening again and again. This year, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is undergoing its 5th mass bleaching event in 8 years. And so the big problem is not just corals dying because of these hot temperatures, but they have shrinking recovery windows in between bleaching events. And so there's just not enough time for long-lived, slow-growing corals to recover between these events.
Wow. So in terms of the factors that have contributed to the severity and the frequency of these global coral bleaching events in recent years, can you point some of them out to us?
Absolutely. And it's really very simple. Temperatures are simply off the charts. The ocean has broken temperature records every day for more than a year. And this is because of the burning of fossil fuels that, as we all know, is adding greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, which is warming the planet. So far, climate change has raised the global average temperatures by about 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial average temperatures. And that means that we're dangerously close to 1.5 degrees Celsius, a well-known climate threshold. Now, there's no sign that we're bending the curve or reducing emissions or temperatures, and that has to be a wake-up call to all of us, not just for the world that our children or grandchildren will inherit, but also for the biodiversity of our planet, like coral reefs, which is just so important to so many people and so important to biodiversity and life in our oceans.
Right, right. And so when we talk about rising sea temperatures, what are some of the long-term consequences, aside from obviously damaging the coral reefs?
Exactly. Well, there's certainly this damage to the coral reefs, and bleaching causes coral death. But bleaching can also cause sublethal impacts like more disease or less energy for corals to grow or reproduce. So right now in parts of the world, we're seeing a cooling of these bleaching temperatures. And that's good news because corals have a chance to recover. So bleaching isn't always a death sentence, but it means that there can be sublethal impacts that affect a coral's ability to be resilient to future events. Now, over the long term, the consequences are obviously corals are dying, but different species have different vulnerabilities to bleaching. And so what we're seeing in the future are going to be smaller, flatter, and weedier corals. And these aren't going to provide the critical services that we're used to coral reefs providing for us. Another consequence is there's more algae on coral reefs. And we see this in long-term trends. More than 50% of live coral cover has been lost since the 1950s due to a combination of bleaching, but also other stressors that we can manage, like pollution, overfishing, and disease. And again, these consequences are not just for biodiversity, but for the 1 billion people who rely on coral reefs and who are already living on the front lines of climate change.
Yes. So what measures are being taken or recommended, at least, to mitigate the impact of coral bleaching? Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, so there's not a lot that can be done to cool off these vast areas of the ocean when it gets too hot for corals. Now, that said, there's a lot of experiments that are being tried out. For example, shading parts of a reef to block out light. Some reefs are closed off once they're bleached to tourists so that there's not additional pressure on our reefs. Scientists are looking at how to genetically produce heat-tolerant corals that could be reseeded onto reefs. And then, of course, there's coral restoration, which is where you're trying to plant coral pieces back onto a reef to help a reef recover. Now, the key thing is that none of these solutions have been proven at scale. These are small scale and very expensive options, and we don't even know if they work. Now, what has been shown is that there is natural resilience to climate change in some reefs around the world or places of ocean cool spots. And so as a conservation scientist, I lead a global program that looks at how can we identify and conserve this global blueprint of reefs and a globally connected network as a key strategy for conservation of coral reefs on our planet.
Yes. So what can we do as non-scientists, just members of our local communities, society at large, and even maybe pressuring our governments to contribute to the conservation and protection of what we have left of these coral reefs? What can we do?
Absolutely. That is such an important question. And the number one threat to coral reefs is climate change. And so we as societies need to do everything we can to curb carbon emissions. And that often means holding businesses to sustainability standards. It means galvanizing world leaders to make real policy change and electing political leaders who take climate change seriously. And of course, it means empowering local solutions for more net zero practices in our own communities, in our own backyards. For our oceans specifically, we can create more marine protected areas in climate resilient cool spots. So we can be really strategic in where we're trying to buy as much time for coral reefs as we can and create this blueprint of coral reef diversity on our planet. And this all comes around into achieving our global climate and biodiversity commitments. There have been scientists all around the world who have worked with world leaders, and we've all agreed. Many countries around the world have agreed to these global commitments, and we just have to urgently take action. We have no more time to lose. We have to get this work done.
And lastly, to end it on a positive note, Dr. Darling, can you tell us about your personal experiences with these coral reefs so people have a better understanding of why we need to do more to protect them?
Absolutely. I think it is so important that you don't lose hope. The headlines are grim about coral reefs and they're grim about nature, but when you're really on these ecosystems and diving and snorkeling in some of these special places, there's still so much hope and optimism left. Last month, I was in North Sulawesi in Indonesia, in Busan National Park, and we went diving, and I knew that those reefs had bleached about 6 months earlier during this bleaching event. So I was sort of closing my eyes, worried what I was going to see underwater, but as soon as we dove in off the boat, there was just clouds of colorful fish, so much diversity of species, healthy corals, big colonies, large branching, huge walls, just some of the best coral reefs I've ever seen in my life, in my career. So there are still these healthy and resilient reefs left, and we can do everything we can to make sure that they have the best conditions possible to survive. And I would encourage all of you listening to learn about your local ocean ecosystems. There are coral reefs in Korea. There are coral reefs in Southeast Asia and the Coral Triangle, some of the best in the world. Learn about these ecosystems, care about them, and there's still so much we can do to save them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your enthusiasm and, of course, your expertise with our listeners today. We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
This was Dr. Emily Darling, and we talked about the global coral bleaching event that's going on as we speak. And some of you might be thinking, does this apply to us? Why should we even care? Why shouldn't we care? This is definitely our home, our habitat that we're sharing with so many living creatures all over the globe, including in our oceans. So it is definitely our duty to make sure that everything is well protected. With that, let's take a short song break. This is A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay.
Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart. Cause you're a sky full of stars. Cause you light up the park. I wanna die in your arms. You get lighter the more it gets dark. I'm gonna give you my heart. I don't care, go on and tear me apart. I don't care if you do. Cause in a sky full of stars, I think I see you. I think I see
You're now listening to the world's most reliable morning show, Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Text in to BEFM # 9050 for 101. You can also reach us for free through our YouTube live stream or on Kakao Talk. Begin your morning with Catherine, and don't forget to reboot your day after lunch. Stay tuned for Steve Hatherley Reboot every day from 2 to 4 p.m.
Listeners, it's time for our final segment for this Tuesday morning. This is called The Health. And normally we have Bonnie in the studio, but today we have someone extra special. Bonnie, by the way, you're also special. We have Andrea in the studio. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Wave in Busan.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first, can we get to know you just a little bit? Tell us who you are, where you're from, how long you've been in Busan, etc.
So my name is Andrea. I've been in Busan for 4 years now.
Oh.
I came here for love. I met my Korean husband in Brazil.
Oh, in Brazil?
Yeah, and I moved here for him. Yeah. My own Korean drama.
Yes, I was gonna say that sounds like a drama.
Yeah.
He better be good to you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a really, really lovely story.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're gonna get into the health. What do you have for us today?
So I'm here to talk a little bit about my favorite hobby, which is tennis.
Tennis.
Yes, it's getting very popular, especially in Korea.
Right. How long have you played?
For about 4 years now.
4 years. So ever since you came, basically?
I started in Brazil, but I really got into that here in Korea, which is great.
Well, I'm so curious as to like what the culture is like because I used to play tennis like in California.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just, recreationally, not like, on a but, I never got into it here because like sometimes I don't like, I feel like, is it like cliquish? Like, how do I join a club? And like how does it go?
Oh, the clubs are the best part.
Really?
And I feel like playing Korea is great because they are very, very dedicated.
Ooh.
So it doesn't feel like a hobby. It feels like being a pro.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for many things, sports activities, I mean, people in Korea, they take it seriously.
So seriously.
Yes. In the best way possible, of course.
Definitely.
All right, so tell us about tennis. What makes it so good and why is it your choice of activity?
So sports in general can make you healthier, but tennis can also make you have a happier life in many ways.
Okay.
And first of all, of course, the physical activity benefits.
Yes.
Playing tennis releases endorphins, which promote feelings of happiness and reduce stress.
Yes.
Sometimes it can give you stress too when you're not playing well, but in general, it reduces stress. Yes. And according to a study published in the Journal of Sleep Research, adults who play tennis also have better sleep quality and duration and an improvement of the neural connections in their brain.
Ooh.
And doctors also recommend tennis for being a whole body workout. Really, you use your legs, your core, your arms. You need to have good balance, flexibility, coordination, and agility. All in one sport.
And for anybody and for those of you who have played, you know what Andrea's talking about.
Yep.
For those who haven't, it is like, I don't know, if you haven't played in a while and you play, the next morning it's like, oh, can't get out of bed.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel sore all over. But
you really use your whole body.
It's true.
Yes.
So what other benefits are there?
Well, the second benefit and my favorite, especially here in Busan, is the social interaction.
Ooh, okay.
So a new study from Denmark shows that playing tennis may extend your life by nearly 10 years.
Ooh.
Actually, many studies show that.
Okay.
That people who play tennis live longer. And one of the main reasons is because of human interaction. Tennis involves joining clubs or teams, which provides opportunities to meet new people and build relationships with other players.
Yes.
Belonging to a group that meets regularly promotes a sense of support and trust, which has been shown to contribute to a sense of well-being and improved long-term health.
Yes.
Also, you just need one more person to play a tennis match, not a big team like other sports. So it's very easy to play every day. You just need to find one more person.
One person.
Yeah.
On the other side of the net, you need somebody, right?
Exactly. And the clubs in Busan especially are great. Like they always bring snacks and water. It's like the community is just amazing. I feel I made so many friends because of the tennis community.
Really?
Like it made my life so, because when I came I didn't know anybody, just my husband.
Right.
But because of the tennis community, I made so many friends and they are so nice to me.
Really?
So,
that's so
I
good to
really
hear.
recommend people to join like any sports clubs, but tennis in special.
In particular?
Yeah,
you're
it's so
like-
good. Yeah.
It comes personally from Andrea.
Yes.
Okay, so we went through the physical activity part, the social interaction. That's a positive. What else?
So the sense of accomplishment, and this one is very important because tennis is a very hard sport to learn.
Yes.
So improving your skills and achieving personal goals in tennis can provide a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. According to a study published in the National Library of Medicine, tennis players had lower levels of depression compared to non-players.
Oh, that's definitely another reason.
Yes.
To maybe pick up a racket, right?
Oh,
Sense of
yeah.
accomplishment. I remember the first time I learned how to serve, like a real serve, not like the regular just, serve.
I
but-
totally understand what you mean.
Yeah. Like, getting it, correctly up in the air at the correct angle. And
Yep.
like, it was the endless, like the racket behind, right? It was just like, it was pretty intense.
It is hard to learn.
But the first time I actually got the serve in,
The
in
best
the box,
feeling, right?
it's like this feeling, this exhilaration, like I accomplished something real. And in my mind, I was like Pete Sampras, like or like somebody like amazing, right?
I feel like Sharapova sometimes.
Right. And then I'm sure in reality it looked really, really clunky and slow. But I felt like I was like a tennis pro. I felt so good.
Sometimes when my husband makes videos of me playing, I'm
Yes.
like, oh, is that how I look like? In my mind, I'm Sharapova, but I'm like,
Right.
well, is that? I'm so slow.
Exactly. It's like slow motion, at least for me, right? It looks
But
like.
sometimes when you start like doing better, you feel so good. Like when you go to sleep, you're like, wow, today was a good day.
Right.
You really feel like the satisfaction.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What else?
So for me particularly, because I love meditating. And I feel like tennis can really improve your mindfulness, focus, and resilience.
Okay.
And here's why. Tennis requires concentration and focus on the ball.
That's true.
For a long time.
Yes.
Which can promote mindfulness and help you stay present in the moment. You need to be present to play tennis.
Or else you're going to get hit by that ball.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to trip.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Right.
And tennis players learn how to manage their emotions, remain calm under pressure, and stay focused, building great mental toughness. And this is a valuable skill that can be transferred to all other areas of your life.
Yes.
I feel like I'm more prepared for situations where I'm not comfortable now after starting playing tennis.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a sport that keeps you on your toes, like literally.
Yes.
Because you don't know if someone's gonna, volley it or, they're gonna lob it.
You
or,
need to be prepared 100%
definitely.
of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you need to change your strategy when you play with different people, different court surfaces, and that also teaches you resilience. You need to change your game very fast.
Sure.
According to the weather.
Right.
So this is very good that you can use this for your life. Because life is sometimes things happen, right? So you need to be prepared. And tennis really helps you to understand that.
I totally agree. And I feel like anytime in my personal case, looking back, anytime I'm playing someone who's better than me, I feel like I do so much better. I don't know, maybe because they're feeding me the balls or
I 100% agree with that. Yes.
It's I would rather play someone who's better or way better than me than
lose.
Yeah, I'd rather lose.
Right.
But I feel like I'm learning something and I'm the extra stretch to get that ball. Yeah.
I feel like I play better when I play with better players too.
Yes. Okay. So it wasn't in my head.
When I play
with
beginners, I tend to copy them somehow, and then
so your level's kind of, you feel like you're regressing going back.
But that's why tennis is great, to know yourself better. Why do I act like that in this circumstances?
Yes, sure.
Or when there's a lot of people watching you play, you need to focus on the ball.
That's true. And when there's a lot of people watching, I do terribly.
Well, and a lot of people want to watch the foreigners, right?
Yeah.
So, we have some audience sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which it was terrible in the beginning, but now
now you're used to it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, to wrap up, what would you say about tennis?
So, if you play any racket sports, the coordination required for that activates the cerebellum in your brain, and that is half of the brain's neurons, which then turns on the rest of the brain.
Sure.
So you can really have a better health by playing a racket sport.
Right. Well, thank you so much for bringing tennis
thank you.
to our listeners. We do appreciate it. And thanks for coming in today. It was such a pleasure meeting you, Andrea.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, too.
All right, everybody. This was The Health. And with that, we're going to take a song break. Here is Más que Nada by Sergio Mendes featuring the Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas came to make it hot. We beat the fire start. Bubbling up just like lava, heated like a sauna. Penetrating through your body armor. Rhythmically we massage with hip hop mixed up with samba. So yes, y'all. You know we never stop, we never rest, y'all. The Black Eyed Peas will keep it funky fresh, y'all. And we won't stop until we get y'all. Till we get y'all. Say yeah.
big peppers, but I rock rhymes. 1, 2, 3, 4, several times. Heavy rotation played by every kind. Radio station blessing every mind. We crossing boundaries like every day. Do Bobby, in the on the bay. We got tab magnification, tab magnify like every day.
Yes, y'all. You know we never stop, we never rest, y'all. The black bees will keep it funky fresh, y'all. And we won't stop until we get y'all. Till we get y'all. Say yeah.
Be my daily operation. Gotta put in work in this crazy occupation. Gotta keep it moving. That's the motivation. Gotta ride the waves and keep a tight relation with my team. Keep it moving and doing it right. Up in the lab every day till daylight. That's the way things move in this monkey business.
We took an old samba song and remixed it.
Sai da minha frente que eu quero passar, pois o samba está animado. Eu quero é sambar. Este samba é misto de maracatu. Samba de preto velho, samba de preto tu.
Mais que nada.
We gon' make you feel a little hot. The beats and such your days, eating up samba.
Sergio, play your piano. Sergio, play yo. Piano, when. Check it out.
Este samba é misto de maracatu. Samba de preto velho, samba de preto tu. Este samba é misto de maracatu. Samba de preto velho, samba de preto tu. La 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 la.
All right, listeners, today we talked about so many different issues and we talked about dramas and shows and endings and the fact that, you know, sometimes endings are not what you expect them to be. Sometimes they're kind of disappointing as well. But the thing is that, I don't know, I try to respect the shows and how they end to a certain extent, because I feel like the writer, whoever's the writer or the writing team behind each story, you know, they have their own vision. And, you know, there are certain books also, I'm sure, where you didn't really enjoy the ending or you had a differing opinion than the original creator. But yes, I guess in terms of the dramas that you've seen that you did enjoy or the ones that you really enjoyed watching, I'm seeing a lot of like Bide, like I'm sure Seinfeld. That's a popular one that I'm seeing in our chat room as well. And what else? People still are giving us feedback regarding our studio, which we do definitely. Umberto saying, "Holy cannoli! The new cameras in the studio are like 8K. I can see every detail." Can you, Umberto? Well, good for you. Grey's Anatomy is a show that has come up on our board saying, is Grey's Anatomy still going on? That show is never ending. I know. And ever since Dr. Meredith Grey left, it's kind of like gone really, really downhill in my personal opinion, because it's just not really the same. But Anyhow, everybody has their own opinion. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for today. And I want to say thank you to our staff, our producer, Cho Yoon-jin. We have our writers, Haley Saw, Annie Moon, and to our engineers who are working really hard to get the studio up to par. So big shout out to them as well. Final song is by Paul Kim, 초록빛. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And join me again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
버려진 담배꽁초 흔들리는 저량 앞 휘청거리는 흰 맥주 뚜껑에 나도 감상에 젖어 오늘 밤은 뭔가가 왠지 달라서 혼자 있어도 외롭지가 않았어 보고 싶던 친구를 만나 초록빛의 신호등이 밝기만 하다 서 있는 저 사람도 깜빡이고 서 있지만